Have you ever laid down at the end of the day, but your mind just wouldn't rest? You close your eyes, but your head keeps spinning, thinking about what already happened, worrying about what might happen, replaying conversations and wondering, did I say the right thing? Have you ever felt like your thoughts were out of control? You think while eating, you think while driving, even while talking to someone you love. There's still a voice in your head whispering worry. It doesn't stop. It doesn't sleep. And it makes you tired in a way no one else can see. And have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep overthinking, even when I know it's making me suffer? You know you're supposed to live in the present. You know you should let go of what you can't control. You know a simpler life is a freer life. But how? You're not alone. So many people, especially after 30 or 40, are struggling with this every single day. But in the teachings of the Buddha, we find a way back. Not a magical solution, not something far away, but a path that is real, close, and deeply practical right in the middle of everyday life. In this video, we're going to walk through 8 profound teachings from the Buddha to help you learn how to pause at the right time, observe with clarity, and gently untangle the knots inside the mind. These teachings aren't just about managing thoughts. They're about returning to the peace that's already within you, right here in the present moment. So, take a deep breath, and let's begin with the first one. 1. Letting go of control. Accepting what is. Have you ever felt totally exhausted, not from doing too much, but from thinking too much? Some days, everything around you seems fine. Your job's okay. Your family's still there. Your health isn't too bad. But inside, it feels heavy. Not because of something specific, but because deep down, you feel like you're fighting something. Fighting a reality that's not what you want it to be. Fighting uncertainty about what might come next. Fighting someone's behavior that you just can't change. And the more you try to control everything, the more it hurts. The Buddha once said, "It's not the world that makes us suffer. It's our desire to control the world." That line hits differently when you really pause and take it in. Because most suffering doesn't come from how bad a situation is. It comes from wanting it to be different and not being able to make it so. And that's when the mind starts resisting. And when we resist reality, suffering is born. Picture this. Someone is trying to push open a door, but the door opens the other way. The harder they push, the more nothing happens. They sweat. Their hands hurt. Their heart beats fast in frustration. But if they stop, take a moment to look, and simply push the other way, the door opens effortlessly. The same goes for the inner life. The more we force and control, the more drained we become. But when we start to accept, to soften, and return to what is peace begins to return. An old Zen master once shared a story from his own life. He had spent nearly his entire adult life caring for his sick wife, no vacations, no grand career, no recognition. One day, someone asked him, "Don't you regret giving up so much of your life for someone else?" He smiled gently and said, "I wasn't bound by anyone. I just stopped trying to force my life into a fixed image. And when I let go of that, my heart was finally free." That answer, simple as it is, lights something up inside. Because it shows us freedom isn't in changing our circumstances. It's in how we see and accept those circumstances. Many people come searching for guidance and say, "I know I should let go, but how do I do it? I can't accept being betrayed, abandoned, unemployed, or hurt like this." And the truth is, you don't have to force acceptance right away. Sometimes, the first step is to simply stop resisting, even if just for a few minutes. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel disappointed. But somewhere inside, leave just a little space to say, "This happened," and no amount of overthinking will undo it. Buddhism doesn't ask us to give up. It asks us to accept reality as a foundation for transformation. Just like someone who wants to heal, they must first admit they're sick. No more denial, no more blame, no more resistance. Only then can wisdom begin its work. Only then can healing begin. A student once asked the Buddha, "How can I find peace in my mind?" The Buddha replied, "Let go of your desires." The student said, "But I want to let go." The Buddha smiled. "Then let go of the desire to let go." That's not wordplay, that's deep truth. Because sometimes it's the need to control even the letting go that keeps us stuck. And someday, after years of trying to control too many things, you might ask yourself, what would happen if I just stopped resisting? Stopped trying to be understood all the time. Stopped trying to make life perfect. Stopped blaming yourself because things didn't go the way you hoped. Stopped resisting and just breathed. Just breathed and stayed with what is. That moment, soft, maybe even silent, might be the exact moment peace finally walks through the door. Acceptance is not giving up. It's the first step to help the mind stop fighting and to become still enough to see the next path forward. And once you're no longer forcing life to be something it's not, you'll begin to see light even in what once felt like the darkest places. 2. True happiness lives in simplicity. One summer afternoon, during a retreat in Northern California, a woman in her early 60s came to share something with me. She spoke softly, but her eyes were tired, not just from age, but from life. "I've worked my whole life," she said. "Saved up, raised my kids, bought a house, got insurance, a car. I have what I need. But strangely, the more I have, the emptier I feel. I don't know why. My heart has never felt truly light." And maybe we've all felt that way at some point. When we suddenly realize that all we've been collecting, money, control, reputation, doesn't necessarily lead to peace. And we start to wonder, have I been chasing the wrong things all along? In the Buddha's teachings, there's a very different path. It doesn't ask you to add more. It gently invites you to let go. It doesn't take you toward the grand or the flashy, but back toward what's quiet, grounded, and real. Because the longer we live, the more we experience, the easier it becomes to see one clear truth. The more complicated life gets, the heavier the heart becomes. And happiness, surprisingly, often lives not in more, but in less. People often believe that to feel peaceful, they need a perfect life, financial security, strong relationships, a successful career. But that's an illusion. There are people who live simply, and yet, every step they take feels like a quiet poem. They don't post online. They don't seek applause. They don't need validation. And yet they sleep well. They wake up with a gentle smile. Why? Because their mind isn't pulled in 1,000 directions. They're not juggling too many roles or clinging to endless expectations. They've simplified not just their lifestyle, but also their thinking. The Buddha once taught, when you know what's enough, you find freedom. When you stop grasping, your mind stops spinning. It's not about giving everything up and living like a hermit. It's about knowing what's enough, where to pause, and when to let go. There's a charming little story from Zen tradition. A young student asked his teacher, "How can I understand the higher truths?" The teacher didn't respond with words. Instead, he poured tea into the student's cup until it overflowed, spilling everywhere. The student jumped back, surprised. "Why did you keep pouring, master? The cup is already full." The teacher smiled and said, "Just like your mind. It's full of assumptions, worries, and expectations. How can truth enter if there's no room?" Simplicity doesn't mean boredom or lack. It's a conscious, wise choice, the courage to let go of what weighs the heart down and keep only what makes it clear. Sometimes that means stepping away from draining conversations. Sometimes it means turning off the phone notifications. Sometimes it's just pausing in the middle of a busy afternoon to listen to the wind outside your window or notice a leaf swaying in the sun. That kind of quiet joy doesn't bloom in noise. It grows out of stillness. And strangely enough, the simpler your mind becomes, the more precious the small moments feel. After working with many older Buddhist students over the years, one thing always touches deeply. When people reflect on their lives, they rarely remember how much they owned. They remember the moments when they were truly present. A peaceful walk with no rush. A meal shared without a phone in hand. A silent look of understanding between two people, no words needed. Tiny things, but they stay with you. In Zen, there's a principle called shibumi, an old Japanese word that means the quiet beauty of simplicity. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it has a depth you never forget. And through living simply, even an ordinary day can become something sacred, something whole. So if you're feeling tired right now, if your mind is carrying too much, maybe ask yourself, what can I let go of today? You don't need a dramatic change, just a little bit each day. One less anxious thought, one less rushed decision, one less need to please the outside world. And slowly, the space you clear will fill with a peacefulness far more lasting than anything you've been chasing. Because in the end, as the Buddha said, happiness is not the destination, happiness is the path. And that path, it begins with every mindful step, every conscious breath, every quiet choice to release what doesn't serve and hold close what truly matters. 3. You are not your thoughts. Some days, the mind just doesn't stop running. One thought isn't even finished before another rushes in. Sometimes it's a worry about the future. Sometimes it's a broken memory from the past. And sometimes it's a random thing someone said years ago, something you thought you'd forgotten, suddenly showing up out of nowhere. And in the middle of that mental storm, something subtle starts to happen. You begin to believe that this chaos is who you are, that you're an anxious person, that you're someone who's negative, weak, or always messing things up, that all those thoughts somehow define you. But is that really true? In the Buddhist teachings, there's a beautiful and powerful image. The mind is like the sky. Thoughts are just clouds passing through. The clouds may be dark or light, thick or thin, but the sky itself is always there. Even when there's thunder, storms, or heavy fog, the sky remains vast, still, untouched behind it all. A young student once asked his teacher, "How can I stop getting swept away by negative thoughts?" And the teacher replied, "Watch your mind like someone standing on a hill looking down at the traffic below. Cars come and go, but you don't have to chase after them. Thoughts are the same, just let them pass." Such a simple answer, but it opens the door to real freedom. Because most of our suffering doesn't come from what actually happened. It comes from how we replay it, again and again, in our heads. A small criticism, when thought about over and over, can become a deep wound. An old mistake, if you keep beating yourself up, can become a lifelong burden. In truth, a lot of people live as if they are victims of their own mind, sitting in a peaceful cafe, but inside a storm is raging. Talking with family, but your thoughts are somewhere else, worrying, planning, fearing. It could be a quiet morning, yet your mind feels like it's been through a war. And that exhaustion? It's not from the outside world, it's from identifying with every single thought that shows up. Not knowing the difference between a passing idea and your true self. There's a simple truth that meditators come to realize. The mind doesn't have to be quiet for you to feel peace. Peace comes when you can stay aware even in the middle of the noise. Like standing by a river, watching leaves float by. The current may be strong, the leaves may be many, but as long as you don't jump in, you're still grounded on the shore. The Buddha once said, "With the mind, we create the world. With the mind, we shape ourselves." This isn't just philosophy, it's practical advice. If we don't observe our mind, even a small worry can drag us into a world of fear. But if we're mindful, if we can see thoughts as visitors, they start to lose their power. People often ask, "How do I stop thinking?" The answer is, you don't need to stop thinking. You just need to stop believing everything your thoughts say. Because, let's be honest, thoughts like, "I'm not good enough," "No one cares," "Life is just too hard," they're not facts. They're echoes from past wounds, mental habits, maybe even someone else's voice. They come, but you are not them. And then something incredible happens. One day, you're just sitting there. A thought passes through. And instead of reacting or analyzing or labeling it good or bad, you simply notice it and let it go. That moment, that quiet space is what we call awareness. The moment you realize, "Oh, I'm having a thought," you're no longer trapped by it. You're watching it, not being controlled by it. A Tibetan master once said, "Freedom begins the moment the mind stops believing everything it thinks." And that's it. Freedom is not about not having thoughts. It's about knowing with clarity that you're no longer a prisoner of them. So if today your head feels full, if your thoughts are spinning, just breathe and try to see them as clouds. They may be dark, they may feel heavy, but no cloud stays in the sky forever. They pass if you don't hold on to them. And when they do, you'll find that behind it all, you're still here, open, clear, unshaken by the storms that once felt so real. Because now, you remember who you truly are, the sky, not the clouds. 4. Trusting in impermanence. Nothing lasts forever. There's one truth we all have to face. Sooner or later, everything changes. It sounds simple, but you only really feel it when life shakes you up, when something you cherished slips through your hands, or when you're standing in the face of a loss that no amount of holding on can stop. A friend once shared a story that stayed with me for a long time. He had gone through a quiet divorce after almost 20 years of marriage. No drama, no betrayal, just the painful truth. We stopped walking in the same direction. But what hurt him most wasn't the breakup itself. It was the emptiness of coming home to silence. The house, once filled with laughter, now echoed with stillness. He told me, "Every time I walk into the kitchen and see her favorite cup, it's like a small stab to the heart." And yet one day, as the afternoon light streamed through the window, something shifted. The sharpness of the pain began to soften. The objects in the house, once screaming reminders, now sat quietly, like gentle witnesses of a past life. And in that moment, he whispered to himself, "Turns out, not just happiness is impermanent. Pain is too." The Buddha called this anicca impermanence. He taught, "All conditioned things are impermanent. Be diligent and awake." Everything that arises, emotions, relationships, even this very body, will eventually change. Nothing stays the same. Nothing lasts forever. But here's the beautiful part. When you don't just understand impermanence with your mind, but feel it with your heart through your own lived experiences, you begin to loosen your grip on life. You hold things more gently. You cling a little less. You stop demanding that everything go your way. During a retreat once, an elderly woman in her 70s quietly said something that moved the whole room. "I lost my son in an accident. It took me years to be able to sleep again. I still miss him, but I've stopped asking life to give me back what it can't. I no longer feel bitterness because I've learned impermanence." There were no tears in her voice, just quiet strength. That's the power of wisdom rooted in impermanence. It doesn't deny pain. It allows us to move through pain without breaking. When we're young, we tend to believe things will last forever. I'll always feel this way. I'll never forgive them. This job will be mine for life. But time is a silent teacher. It doesn't speak. It just reveals. One day, we look back and realize that heartbreak that once made it hard to breathe, it's just a soft blur now. That fear that once felt paralyzing, it no longer holds the same weight. A Zen master once wrote, "If you're happy, don't cling to it. Joy will pass. If you're sad, don't despair. Sorrow too will fade." That's not just a comforting saying. It's one of the deepest truths of this life. Impermanence is not the destroyer of happiness. It's the foundation of hope, because if nothing ever changed, then suffering would be permanent too. But thanks to impermanence, pain can ease, wounds can heal, and broken hearts can slowly find their way back to wholeness. In mindfulness practice, understanding impermanence isn't just about dealing with loss. It's also about cherishing what we still have. A quiet afternoon, a warm cup of tea, a friend sitting beside us. When we know nothing is guaranteed to stay, we begin to live more deeply with what's here now. We stop waiting until it's gone to feel grateful. We stop postponing love and presence until the right moment. And sometimes, impermanence becomes the only thing in life we can truly rely on. So, when you're in crisis or lost in confusion, just remember, this too shall pass. Like clouds across the sky, like wind through the trees. Even the longest night eventually gives way to dawn. When we embrace impermanence, we stop fighting life. We stop holding on so tightly. We stop fearing change. And slowly, we find ourselves stepping into a quiet peace, a place where the mind no longer trembles with every shake of the world outside. 5. Returning to the breath, the anchor that holds the mind steady in a chaotic world. Have you ever felt like life is moving way too fast? Endless headlines, constant work, half-finished conversations, notifications that just won't stop buzzing. Sometimes, it feels like the mind is caught in a raging river, being pulled this way and that, with no shore in sight, no moment to pause. And then, in the middle of all that noise, someone gently asks, "Have you breathed today?" It sounds so simple, almost too simple. But sometimes, that's the only question that truly matters. Breath was the very first thing when we came into this world, and it will be the very last when we leave it. Yet somehow, in all the years in between, we so rarely truly show up for a single full breath. But breath is now. Breath is life. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't need equipment or effort. Just by turning to the breath, we begin turning back to ourselves. A meditation teacher once said, "The breath is the bridge between body and mind." And it's true. When the mind is tangled in worries, pulled into the past, or racing toward the future, the breath is the place where we can sit down and come home. Like a ship in the middle of a storm needs an anchor, the mind in a chaotic world needs a steady place to rest. And the breath is the gentlest anchor we have. A woman once shared her morning ritual. Every day, before she even touches her phone, she sits quietly on the edge of her bed, places a hand on her belly, and simply follows her breath for a few minutes. She doesn't call it meditation. She's not trying to be spiritual. She just says, "It's my way of reminding myself that I'm still alive." And something shifted. Since she began that practice, her anxiety doesn't grip her the same way it used to. In the Buddhist teachings, mindfulness of breathing is considered the foundation of many practices. Why? Because breath is always with us, intimate, quiet, and endlessly patient. You don't need a meditation hall. You don't need to sit cross-legged on a fancy cushion. You just need to breathe and notice that you're breathing. That alone is a beginning. Imagine this. You're driving through rush hour traffic. Your mind is cluttered with a million things, deadlines, errands, worries. But instead of letting your thoughts pull you under, you take a breath in and know you're breathing in. You breathe out and know you're breathing out. No need to change anything. Just know that you're alive. In that moment, you've already come back to yourself. In the Anapanasati Sutta, the Buddha taught, when breathing in a long breath, one knows, I am breathing in long. When breathing out a short breath, one knows, I am breathing out short. It sounds so basic, but it's one of the deepest practices. Because in those mindful breaths, something profound happens. We interrupt the loop of unconscious reactivity. We stop chasing every thought. We're no longer the victim of every emotion. We become the one who's present, alive and aware, not just going through the motions. Many people think meditation means sitting perfectly still for hours, silencing all thoughts, clearing the mind completely. But the truth is, meditation starts with just one mindful breath. Walking and knowing you're walking. Washing dishes and knowing you're washing dishes. Hearing a bird sing and knowing you're hearing it. All of it starts with the breath. A meditation master once gave his students a small practice. Every time you step across a doorway, pause. Take one deep breath, then continue. At first, the students didn't get it. But after a few weeks, they began to notice just that one breath, that small pause, changed everything. Life became lighter. The mind wasn't being dragged by old habits. And in that one small pause was the beginning of transformation. So if today you feel like life is sweeping you away, too fast, too noisy, too much. If you feel lost in all the roles you play and the responsibilities you carry, pause. Don't look for anything big or dramatic. Just one breath. One breath where you know, I'm breathing. Sometimes, that's all it takes to open the door to peace. 6. Every thought is a guest. Don't let it become the host. There are moments in life when we get swept up in a whirlwind of thoughts, and we don't even realize it's happening. A perfectly ordinary evening, you're sitting quietly on the sofa, but your mind is racing. Will I meet the deadline tomorrow? Why did that person act so strangely today? I should have said something different this morning. One small thought, then another barges in. At first, it's just a knock on the door. But if you're not careful, the thoughts come right in, sit on your couch, start rearranging your furniture, and before you know it, they've taken over the whole house inside your heart. In the Buddhist teachings, there's a beautiful metaphor. Each thought is a guest. Your mind is the house. Guests come and go, but not every guest needs to stay. Some are welcome, like inspiration, gratitude, or a sense of calm. Others show up uninvited resentment, shame, envy, or vague anxiety that has no name. And the problem? Many of us not only open the door to these guests, we invite them to sit down, pour them tea, and even offer them a place to sleep. A Zen master once said, "Thoughts are like strangers knocking on the door. You get to choose whether to open it." That doesn't mean we should deny our thoughts. It just means see them and remember that you have a choice. Don't react instantly. Don't believe every word they say. And don't label yourself just because of one passing idea. An elderly Buddhist once shared her story, a story filled with quiet wisdom. She said when she was younger, anytime someone criticized her, she would replay their words for an entire week. She'd lose sleep, lose her appetite. Her mind would circle around it endlessly. Why did they say that? Am I really that bad? Do they hate me? And she confessed, "That moment passed, but I kept it in my mind like it was a toxic treasure I couldn't let go of." Years later, after retiring, she began practicing mindfulness and breath meditation. And something shifted. She learned to treat her thoughts like passing visitors. She didn't chase them out, but she didn't hold on either. Just a soft greeting, a gentle smile, and then let them go. And here's the thing. When you stop holding on to a thought, it stops having power over you. It's no longer the master of your mind. It becomes what it truly is, something passing through like a cloud across the sky or a leaf floating down a stream. The Buddha said, "With our thoughts, we create the world. With our minds, we shape reality." But he also taught, "Observe the thought, but do not become the thought." That one small difference makes all the difference. Because once you believe you are your negative thoughts, it's easy to get lost. But if you see them simply as guests, you're still the owner of the house. In real life, you probably won't ever completely stop having thoughts. And that's okay. Thinking is part of being human, just like hearing birdsong or feeling the wind. But here's what matters most. You don't have to identify with every thought that pops into your head. Not every thought is true. Not every thought is worth believing. And not every thought reflects your real worth. Try imagining this. You're sitting in a cafe. A stranger sits down at the next table and starts complaining about their job, the weather, how awful people are. You can listen if you want. But you don't have to agree. You don't have to take their sadness home with you. You can simply get up, leave the table, and go on with your day. Negative thoughts are the same way. They may show up, but you don't have to keep them. You don't have to rent them a room in your heart. There's an old saying, when the mind is quiet, everything becomes clear. And that stillness starts with knowing when to let go. Not forcing your mind to control everything. Not holding on to stories that no longer serve you. Just sitting quietly and letting the guest walk out the door kindly. So if there's a thought bothering you today, try asking yourself, who is this thought? Where did it come from? Is it even true? And most importantly, does it deserve to stay in my mind? If the answer is no, gently say goodbye. Because only when you stop turning your thoughts into permanent residence can your mind become a true place of peace. And that peace is the ground you'll stand on to live each day with clarity, presence, and real freedom. 7. Practicing the art of stopping to truly hear yourself. There's something strange happening in modern life. We're living faster than ever, but feeling more empty than ever. Each day is packed with endless to-dos. We move fast, react fast, constantly update ourselves with news. We wake up and check our phones, We go to bed still thinking. And in the middle of all that noise and busyness, a question that seems simple suddenly feels like a luxury. Am I truly living or just running? In the Buddhist teachings, there's a line that's short but as deep as the ocean. Only when we stop do we truly begin to live. Stopping doesn't mean slowing down. Stopping doesn't mean giving up. It means waking up from the autopilot and returning to yourself. A middle-aged practitioner once shared his honest story during a retreat. He was a successful man, house, car, status, everything seemed complete. But for years, he felt something was missing. Even on vacation, he didn't feel relaxed. Even when sitting with family, his mind was doing work calculations. Then one day, after the sudden loss of a loved one, he paused. For the first time in years, he just sat still in the garden and cried. Not from sadness, but because, for the first time, he felt truly present. So many people are living without realizing they're alive. Because we never stop, we don't see clearly. It's like driving at high speed, the scenery blurs, details vanish, the beauty gets lost. Our minds work the same way. The faster we go, the foggier things get. The more we rush, the further we drift from who we are. In Buddhism, stopping isn't really about an external action. It's an inner attitude. Stopping doesn't mean quitting your job, abandoning your responsibilities, or escaping the world. It means, in the middle of a busy morning, pausing for just a few seconds to breathe. When you feel anger rising, stopping to look into it with awareness. When you're overwhelmed by worry, asking, am I really suffering? Or am I just thinking that I am? A Zen master once taught his students, even within noise, you can find stillness, but only if you stop chasing the noise. Like a lake, only when the water settles can we see all the way to the bottom. Our minds are like that too. Only when we pause and calm down can we hear the voice within. Many people are afraid of stopping. They're scared of the emptiness. Scared that silence might force them to face things they've been avoiding for years. But ironically, by refusing to stop, they carry that same burden year after year. In meditation, healing doesn't begin with effort. It begins with a moment of stopping. No fixing, no resisting, no pretending, just stillness and breath. During a Dharma talk at a monastery in the southern U.S., a young practitioner once asked, "How can I live more deeply each day when life is so busy?" The old teacher smiled and said, "Just take one moment each day to truly stop, even just 1 minute. 1 minute isn't short if it's sincere. 1 minute to look at your sorrow without judging it. 1 minute to thank life without needing anything more. 1 minute just to listen to your own heart. Not through a screen, not through the news, not through others' expectations. You can stop while walking. You can stop during a conversation. You can stop even in the middle of a busy day. All it takes is one breath, one pause, one moment to turn inward. Stopping doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've finally returned. Return to mindfulness. Return to the ability to choose presence instead of running, instead of getting swept away. And from that returning, you start to notice the little things you once overlooked are actually what give life real meaning. Someone once said, "We don't need to live longer. We just need to live deeper in each moment we have." And that is the heart of practicing stopping in Buddhism. No complex technique, no need to retreat from the world, just a mind that knows when to stop, and every day can become a sacred moment. 8. Returning to the present, the only place you can truly live. There's something strange about modern life. People can be standing in the same room, but their minds are drifting in two completely different worlds. One part is stuck in the past, replaying old stories, feeling regret, guilt, or loss. Another part is already racing into the future, planning, worrying, imagining things that haven't even happened yet. And in the middle of that, they forget the present. They forget the very moment they are breathing, living, existing, the only place where life is actually happening. In the Buddhist teachings, there's one line that is short, simple, but touches the heart. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. Because the past is a shadow. The future is an illusion. Only the present is real. Only the now is where truth can be touched. Someone once asked, "But if I don't think about the past, how can I learn from it? And if I don't prepare for the future, how can I live responsibly?" That's a great question. And the answer is this: it's not about ignoring the past. It's not about abandoning the future. It's about not letting either one take over your entire mind. Because if your heart is constantly living in a time that no longer exists or hasn't yet arrived, how can you fully live what's right in front of you? An elderly Buddhist once shared something deeply moving. She said, "I lost almost 10 years of my life living in the past. After a loved one passed away suddenly, I couldn't move on. My heart was stuck in a moment that no longer existed. And then one day, as she sat by the window, she saw her grandson playing in the garden, his smile, his eyes. Something about that moment made her burst into tears. She said, "For the first time in years, I realized I'm still alive. And maybe the one I lost would want me to live this life fully." That moment changed everything. That day, she decided to stop letting the past own her mind. Others are so anxious about the future, they can't sleep. Not because something is wrong in the present, but because their mind is trapped in worst-case scenarios. What if something bad happens? What if I lose my job? What if the person I love stops loving me? And here's the painful part. Peace never even had a chance, because it was stolen by a future that hasn't arrived. In meditation, there's a simple but powerful practice. Coming back to the present moment, not through memory, not through judgment, not through mental commentary. Just simply, when walking, know you are walking. When eating, know you are eating. When listening to the rain, just listen. No need to think about it. Someone once asked, "That's it? What's the point of that?" And the answer is, it's in those quiet, ordinary moments that the mind finally rests. No longer pulled, no longer scattered, no longer torn apart by time. A Japanese Zen master once said, "Peace is not somewhere else. It lives in this moment when you are fully here." And when you realize that through your own experience, not just theory, you'll see something beautiful. You don't have to go far to find peace. You don't have to wait for your life to be together before you can feel calm. If you can show up fully right now, even your breath becomes sacred, like a soft breeze on a summer afternoon. If you're busy worrying about winter, you'll miss the coolness of the wind that's here today. If you're stuck mourning yesterday's rain, you won't see how beautiful the sunlight is right now. Yes, the present moment isn't always perfect, but it's real. And only in the present can you ever plant a seed for the future. So if you've been carrying around regret, or stress, or fear, I invite you to try something simple. Pause. Look around. Place your hand on your heart. It's still beating. Feel your breath. It's still bringing you home to life, one moment at a time. And maybe, from here, you can whisper gently to yourself, "I'm here. And that's enough, because life isn't behind you, and it isn't ahead of you either. It's happening right now in the very moment you're hearing these words. And from this foundation of presence, you can begin to rebuild your peace, day by day, hour by hour, breath by breath. And with that, we've now walked through 8 deep teachings of the Buddha, like silent milestones on the path back to ourselves. These aren't just ideas to memorize. They are gentle reminders to be practiced with every breath, every thought, every choice we make. When we let go of control, simplify our lives, stop identifying with our thoughts, and come back to the breath and the present, the mind begins to settle like a still lake. And in that stillness, peace naturally blossoms. Not loudly, not with conditions, but quietly and deeply. Life will go on busy, uncertain, sometimes hard. But if within your heart there's a place to return to, a little stillness, a conscious breath, then no matter where you are, you're never truly lost. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You just need to begin with one moment of true presence. And soon you'll discover peace was never gone. It was always right here, just waiting for you to come home. If these reflections touched your heart, I warmly invite you to subscribe to Buddhism Seeds so we can continue exploring Buddhist wisdom together in everyday life. Don't forget to like, share this video with someone you care about, and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what this teaching means to you. Thank you for being fully here, for every moment we just shared. May you always dwell peacefully in the present, the only place where life truly happens.